So right now, me and my wife have one child,
Yes.
right? And the discussion has come up before about the possibility of having more children,
Mhm.
right? And I know you're one of six, I'm one of four. And obviously, our parents were in huge families, but for these days, that's not really that's like a big number. You don't really see that
Yeah.
much anymore. So when we're talking about having another kid, a lot of things come up. It'll be a big struggle financially and then, physically, emotionally. We don't want to take anything away from the kid we have now, all these kinds of things, right? So when it does come up, I know it'll be tough, but there's one thought that comes to mind that makes me, that comes to mind every time we're talking about the possibility of having more kids. Here it is. So when I was a freshman in high school, I wrestled at 189
Yeah.
pounds, right? I was not very good. I was like 5'2", 5'3", 189 pounds, not very good, right? We then transferred schools when I was a sophomore,
Mhm.
right? And I went to another school. At this other school, I ended up dropping weight over the off season and getting down from 189. I got down to 145,
Damn.
right?
How did you do that, by the way? Is this is a lot of like running with the trash bag on your body?
The trash bag stuff is when you run with like the plastic suit and the trash bag and stuff, that's like a quick cut when you need to cut out some pounds like in a short amount
Mhm.
of time. This was like over like a few months. So I was running, but like I used to run and my dad would make me wear weights on my ankles and weights around my waist, like a weight belt around my waist and then weights on each ankle. Looking back on it, was a terrible idea for the weights on the ankles because my knees are just destroyed.
Damn.
But either way, yeah, so but it was a lot of running and like obviously like a lot of off-season wrestling tournaments and training and things like that and dieting and just a ton of stuff. The tough thing was though is that I also grew like 4 or 5 inches in that summer or in that off season. So I went from like 5'2" to like 5'6" or 5'7" and 145 pounds. But the tough thing is like when you're growing that much, it's really tough to like keep the weight down. You
Yeah,
know what I'm
yeah, for
saying?
sure.
So in my sophomore year, I'm wrestling. I'd made varsity like a couple times, but I wasn't like like a staple on varsity. And so, but I did for one match, I had missed weight, right? And when I missed weight, my dad was really, really angry because he's like, "We did all this stuff. You made this huge commitment, and you let your team down, you let yourself down, you're letting and you didn't live up to your word and your commitment and everything like
Mhm.
that, right?" So when you do miss weight, you're on our team. You were suspended for 2 matches. Like you couldn't wrestle for 2 matches, but you still had to make weight,
Yeah.
right? So like a couple weeks go by, right? And I miss weight a second time, right? And when I missed weight the second time, I didn't tell my dad, right? And I forget why, but he was like late to the wrestling meet that
Mhm.
night. And he was like, "Did you wrestle?" I was like, "No, I didn't wrestle. I was still on suspension," I told him,
Yeah.
which I wasn't. Yeah, so we're kind of in like the middle of the season. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? I miss weight the second time. So then I'm suspended for 3 matches this time, and I still have to make weight. A couple weeks go by. I never told my dad that I missed weight the second time. So a couple weeks go by, and then we go to this tournament or this wrestling meet. It was called the Lafayette Duels, and it's where like a bunch of different teams would come, like from all different states or parts of the country. They would come and like wrestle each other, and it was at this Lafayette
Mhm.
college, right? So I'm here. I had traveled with the team to go to the dual
Yeah.
meets, right? I make weight, everything like that, and my dad comes to the meet, but he drove separately because it was like a weekend thing. So he drove separately. Not only did he show up, but he came with our guest today, my little brother Alex. So you have to understand this, Shake. And I know you're a little brother and I'm a little brother, or a younger brother, I
Yes.
would say. And I'll tell you this, we get along now, but Alex was the quintessential little shithead of a little brother. All right. He was the spitting image, the textbook little shit. All right. And the problem is that Alex is a lot smarter than I am. So he would always have these little quips and these little
Big
comebacks,
problem.
and I couldn't match wits with him. It would make me so ungodly angry,
Yes.
right? So we're at this meet, right? And my dad's in the stands, and like one of the meets going on, and I think my dad said to a parent, and he was like, why is this kid wrestling? I thought Matt would have been wrestling. And the parents said, no, Matt's on suspension. And then my dad was like, I thought his suspension ended. It was only 2 matches. And the parent was like, no, he missed weight again, 2 weeks ago or whatever. And my dad, the look on his face went from like, it was like, like he was fuming, right? Fuming angry. So angry. He was so angry that the parent who told him came up to me later and apologized and said they were like, hey, Matt, just want to let you know, I told your dad you missed weight and I'm sorry, but you're going to have to take your lumps. Right. And I was like, oh, no. I miss, like not only did he find out, I'm like terrified. Not only that, and then my little shithead brother was there too. So I had to deal with that as well. Right. So we're walking to the car, and I don't know if they had this rule in your family, Shake. So like after the Lafayette duels are over and everything like that, we're going to the car to leave. And we had this rule in our family that the oldest kid sits up front,
of course.
Right? No, like, so it just like stopped all the fighting about who got the front seat. Oldest kid sits up front,
universal
right?
rule.
So we're walking to the car. Exactly. Yeah. So we're walking to the car. You kind of got screwed on that deal, and so did Alex. But we're walking to the car, right? And when we're getting to the car, my dad says, he's like, Matt, you're sitting in the fucking back. Get in the back. And I was like, all right, no problem. Didn't want to be next to you anyways. Not a big deal. I'm sitting in the back, and I'm like behind the passenger side, like against the window, just trying to be as far away from this guy as I can. We're driving back, and I would say it's like an hour or so from Lafayette to my mom's house. My parents were split up at the time. We were living with my mom, and my dad, the plan was he was like, take us, drop us off, and go. Lafayette the Lafayette College is like probably an hour away from my mom's house. So I'm not going to lie. If I remember correctly, not one word was spoken on this drive home, right? Not one word. And I don't remember there being any music either. So I think it was just a car full of dead silence, right? And I could tell like my dad's like sitting at the wheel, just like fuming, Driving back, and we get back to Lansdale, land of the free, home of the brave, and we're almost at my mom's house. And there's a 7-Eleven that's like kind of near my mom's, right? We stop at the 7-Eleven. He parks and goes inside, and me and my little shithead brother stay in the car, right? I don't know if it was the same way for your family, but it was for me. Like when one of our parents is mad, everyone kind of like read the room, and they're like, look, let's not make this storm any angrier. You know what I mean? Like, let's just kind of everyone rides it out, find some cover and let's get through this together.
Like a little conference.
Yeah, like it was almost like nothing needed to be said. Everyone knew like fucking let's zip it here. Let's just come on. And I think even Alex said to me, he's like, dude, he is so mad. And I was like, yeah, don't I know it. He gets back in the car and he had like a bag of stuff, right? And I would, I just remember the bag like having just like a bunch of stuff in it. I didn't know what it was. We leave the 7-Eleven. We then go from the 7-Eleven and we go to my mom's house, right? And like I said, they were split up at the time. He was just supposed to be dropping us off. He pulls up in the driveway, parks the car, and says, Matt, get in the fucking house right now, right? I get out of the car, and I'm thinking I remember standing there in the driveway just thinking to myself, like, fuck, like, just leave. You can just fucking like run away, like run to fucking Dr. Jeff's house or something. He won't get you there, right? That's like, those are the thoughts going through my mind. But then it's also going through my mind the thought of like, like you got to take your lumps. You know what I mean? Like, you want to be a man, you got to take your lumps, you got to do your thing, stuff like that, right? Which is, it is what it is. It's all part of that macho mentality bullshit, right? We get to, we're at the house, right? And I'm in the driveway, like, everything. So I'm like, fuck it, I'm not going to run away. I'm just going to go into the house, right? So I walk in the house. As soon as I walk in the house, I see my dad's. So when you walk in through the back door of my mom's old house, you went right into the kitchen, right? When I walk in, I see my dad standing at the counter in the kitchen, and he's like holding a knife, right? And I didn't know what he was doing. But then I saw, so when he had gone to 7-Eleven, right? When he had gone to 7-Eleven, he had bought like a bunch of tasty cakes, right? And for those people who don't know, tasty cakes are like these little cake things, like little Debbie, like fucking Hostess kind of snack treats, right? He what he's doing is he's taking the knife and he's like cutting open the wrappers to the cake, right? I get in, as soon as I walk in the door, he grabs me by the collar, by like his left hand. And then with his right hand, he has like a tasty cake, right? And he's got me by the collar and he just goes, wham, right? Like fucking nails me right in the head. And he's like, you want to eat, you fat fuck? Bam, right? Nails me, right? Then the second time, right? So then he grabs another tasty cake, bam, right? He's like, you want to eat, you fat fuck? Nails me again, right? And I'll tell you what, like I've been in cages and I've been in the ring and things like that, and I've been hit, and like it does go through your mind, like, you know, this was hard, but there's always like a time I'll be like, you know, I have been hit harder, and it's always that thought that goes to my mind. It's like, no, that was the hardest, right? So he hits me the second time, then he grabs another tasty cake. And he's like, bam, right? Third time, you fat fuck, you want to eat? Nails me. And this one like kind of rocked me even more, and like my knees just kind of went, like, you know how you see like the kids' knees like go to jelly and they fall, you know, like when you see the fights. So that's kind of what happened. So after that third one, I fell down and he gets on top of me and he has another tasty cake. I don't know where he kept getting these fucking cakes from, but he has another cake and he's like, bam, right again, hit me in the head again. And my head hits the floor. And, you know, I've heard people talk about like scenarios like this and things like that. And the one thing that everyone universally felt is like abandonment, right? They're like, feel like there's no help coming, right? So I had that kind of thought going through my mind, right? And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I hear this little shithead's voice coming through saying, you know, like, Dad, you got to talk to Mom. She's on the phone. Right. So it's, what Alex had done, he had called my mom and he's like, Mom, you know, Dad's fucking hurting Matt and all this stuff. And he's yelling, you know, he's yelling at my dad, like, Dad, take the phone. You got to talk to Mom. Right. So my dad like takes the phone and he takes the phone and he doesn't even say anything. He's just like, you know, and then my mom's like, Andy, you've gone way too far. You got to stop. Get out of my house right now. I'm calling the police, blah, blah, blah. Right? So he doesn't even say anything. I think from what I remember, I don't really remember that well. He throws the phone, right? And it like breaks. And then he stands up, kicks me in the stomach, and gives the old farewell, see you later, right? Then he takes off. So he kicks me, storms out, slams the door, goes to the car, all that kind of stuff. So Shake, you know, we're not cops, right? Obviously, even though you got a sweet stash, we're not cops. And even though I'm jacked, we're not firemen. We're not, you know, we're not in the military. We're not first responders, and we're not, you know, on the front lines in the ER or anything like that, right? But to me, I feel like courage exists in a bunch of different places, and I think you would agree. And to me, seeing this little like 12-year-old kid stand up to this raging lion, right, to help protect a brother that he fucking fought with more than anybody else, right? To me, that's like the most courageous thing I've ever seen, you know? And so when my wife does talk about having, you know, more kids and stuff like that, I know it is tough, and I know it'll be tough financially, but thoughts like that come to mind where you need your brothers and sisters.
Amen, man.
You know?
Amen.
We've only ever talked about this once, me and Alex, so I wanted to bring it up and say thank you, because I never thanked him, and tell him I love him. And that I know he's doing great, and I know everything's great, and he's doing well in Chicago, and everything's going good. And I just wanted to say, you know, have you seen the movie Bohemian Rhapsody? And if yes, what'd you think of that piece of shit movie?
No, I have not seen that movie. I have not. I have not seen Bohemian Rhapsody. I did see Rocket Man, about another famous gay guy that I thought was
Yep. Liked
was
Rocket
good.
Man.
I did like Rocket Man. I liked Taron Egerton or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
I thought he did a good job.
Really good. Really, really good. Yeah. So, but what would you say? So wait, you haven't seen it?
What do you? Is this what you do? You sneak attack people on this podcast of yours? Yeah. I mean, I didn't really have a desire to see it, to be honest.
See, there you go. That's the right attitude you want to have. All right.
It didn't it never called out to me. It wasn't like, I love Queen.
Yeah.
I think they're amazing. I
Same,
love Freddie Mercury. I just didn't
not taking
like
anything away from Queen. No,
Yeah.
love Queen, love them to death. We've heard a couple times on this show, we've brought it up, but our good friend, the man, the myth, the Murph Meyer, brought up how they had midgets just carrying around a tray of schneef, right? And, you know, like they didn't have that in the movie, apparently. I don't know. I cut it off like a half hour in.
I mean, if they didn't have that, they didn't have the movie, as far as
I agree. I agree.
If they didn't have that, Peter Dinklage really missed out on that role.
No. That would have been the role. That would have been the role of the millennium.
The role, the game of that was the game of roles.
Oh my god!
And it didn't happen.
That would have been the best role of all time.
But what I never told Matt was, and I think it's now's the time, is that he's wondering where my dad was getting all these tasty cakes from, and what he doesn't remember is I was standing there handing him the tasty cake.
Oh my god! Nuh-uh.
He was like, it's like a doctor, like scalpel.
Oh
I was
my
like,
god!
the nurse, like, here we go. Here's another one. Give him another one. This time,
a scalpel, you can crimp it.
Good one. Take a butterscotch, you bastard.
Oh my god!
Hear that? Hit him with this.
Yeah, I don't.
Hit him with the chocolate junior.
Yeah. Here's a fucking coconut cream.
No, I thought it was a Hostess cake. To be honest, I thought it was one of those big chocolate Hostess cakes.
I'm remembering the
wrappers.
Crimpet.
You would more than I do, because what happened was he went right in the house and was like, get inside, right? And then Matt stayed back and like slowly came inside.
Yeah, and I was contemplating running.
Right, like Matt was like walking very slow.
Very, very slow.
And I was like, not but I was like, I just went inside. So I walked right behind him and I saw him like fucking with the tasty cakes. I didn't know what the fuck he was. I was like, all right, let me get the fuck out of here. This is weird. And I went into the living room, and then it all just like happened behind me. And I turn around and I just see them in the kitchen. And at that point, Matt was like already on his back.
Yeah.
It was like, it happened very quick.
Yeah.
But that was.
Could you imagine if Mom didn't answer on the first ring?
She never picked up her phone. That was the other thing. She
never answered her phone.
But my immediate reaction was like to curl up in a ball on the couch. I was like freaked out by the whole situation. Didn't want to be near it. And then my next thing was to like get up and call someone. Yeah. But it was
thank God you did.
It was very shitty situation.
Let's just say this though. I will say this, and I know that story makes my dad look bad, but I love my dad, and I know Alex does too. And he was sick at times, and you know, I know that makes him look bad, but it doesn't mean that we don't love him very much.
I mean, I would say that was probably one of his worst moments, you know, that I saw.
Agreed.
I mean, but definitely that was up there as one of the worst moments. Definitely like probably the worst moment that I witnessed. You know, being the youngest, I got lucky in some some regard. I feel like the older ones had to deal with more of that shit. One time though, I will tell you. So different story. So I was a runner, like a runner in the
Big
sense
time.
of I would run
He
away.
wasn't.
You know,
Yeah.
I was
Yeah,
like,
when-
if it were me in that car, first of all, I quit wrestling. Like, I wasn't gonna do that shit. Like, once it came to making weight, I was like, I'm not wrestling anymore. I can't eat pizza on pizza day. What? What kind? This isn't America that you're raising us in. This is,
Yeah.
you know, this is
Communist Russia.
exactly. And so I wasn't about it, but until high school when I was like, wait a second, there are some advantages to it. But but then no, so I was a runner, and I remember one time I was probably around the same age. Actually, I think he still lived at the house, so this was like the year before. And you know, I was arguing with my mom about something, and then my dad got like angry at me, and then I don't know what happened, but he ended up like chasing me. He was like pissed that he was like chasing me around the house. Well, I mean, running away from people in that house was like a part-time job for me. You know, like there were many a
Happened
chase.
a lot.
So I just kicked right into, like, instinct took over, and the chase was on, you know, and I just acted the way I would. So I went right around the dining room table, right? And our dining room, you know, it was in like this, its own room. So I was going around the table, and as I'm circling around the table, I'm tipping chairs over behind me to leave obstacles. Well, I got him, and he tripped over a chair. And I was like,
oh, you just made it so much worse.
Right, because like that's when you go from
so
like,
fucking mad. That's when you're like, oh shit, I need to stop.
Yeah, that's when you're like, this could end in the hospital for me. You know, like this could be bad. And so I remember like seeing him trip over the chair, and it wasn't even graceful, right? Like he stumbled, probably hurt his shin.
He was partially blind at this time too, right?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I never bought any of that when I was younger. I was like, I don't buy it. This guy's
just
making
an
it
angle.
up. He said he's got a bad memory, but whenever I would try to test it, I'd be like, Dad, I didn't get allowance this week. He'd be like, yeah, you did. He'd be like, no, you didn't give it to me. You don't remember, but he would always. So I was skeptical, but yeah, he tripped, and it looked like it hurt a little bit, and it definitely didn't. It got him angry.
When he would get mad and like say he stubbed his shin, he would grind his teeth and go, son of a bitch.
It was it was like that energy was there. I don't know. I turned around and I saw him, and then he looked at me, and I was like, oh God. I stopped running at that point.
Yeah.
So I was like,
you knew you're like, oh, fuck on me.
Like there's no door I can hide behind in this house. But then Mill comes out. Mill to the rescue is really what it is. I mean, that's the theme of both of these stories. But Mill comes out and comes in between us. And I was like, thank God. And she was like telling him to calm down. So I was like, so I got saved by the bell on that one. I didn't even get.
Yeah, Mom was also trying to hold in a laugh of like, you made your like.
I don't think so. I think she was legit. Like she could have lost.
He's gonna kill him.
Yeah. I think she knew that shit, like that was bad. But she was over it too, because like here she is, you know. Yeah, she got in an argument with an 11-year-old or whatever that might have been being disrespectful or whatever. But like then the situation is 10 times worse now. And so she's just over it. She's like, I don't need someone chasing the kids. You know what I mean? Like I just need help with the laundry. You know, I mean, I don't know. So but yeah,
me and Tom have talked about this, how we like, and we will say that you have brass fucking balls, because whenever it was us, we wouldn't run. We would just we would just be hit, you know. But whenever it was you, I remember one time, I don't know if we can tell this story. You locked yourself in the bathroom.
That was good.
and
It's just like a little one of those the tiniest, thinnest little metal sliding locks,
Yep.
just gracefully placed in the door.
Yep.
No.
Yeah. And then and he was like, Alex, open the door or it's gonna be a lot fucking worse. And you just said no, and then he kicked the door in.
I was actually walking over to the door when he kicked it out. I was thinking about it. I was like, yeah, he's kind of right. I'm cornered here. I mean, we're on the second
Yeah,
floor.
yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
a prickle bush outside. Can't really jump to the tree. So what are you gonna do? So I was like, all right. I was walking to the door and then it opened. And then I'm like, what'd you do that for? You know, like I was about to open it. Come on. Get a hold of yourself.
Yeah, I'm sure that's exactly what you said.
No, there wasn't much time to say anything. It was like,
all right, we've talked about this kind of stuff enough, but let's keep it